riding here, gonna go to the gas station and meet up with another buddy of ours. I'm currently riding a Honda VFR800. I think it's a 2006 or an 05. It's actually Carl's bike right there, and he's on a Yamaha MT-07, brand new one that he just got. And we're heading to the gas station right now. I'm gonna get some gas and fill up and figure out. We're gonna go just for a little cruise, nothing crazy, and just see what's going on. It's a beautiful day out. It's about 50, probably 55 degrees right now. Alrighty guys, it's a beautiful Sunday morning here. I got Carl, we're meeting up with Drake, and this is the first of many videos that we're going to be doing here. And this is not my bike, as much as I would say and would like to say it is. It's a very beautiful bike, older bike. It's a Honda VFR800. Pretty fast, very stout. It's got like 22,000 miles or something like that on it. And Carl's getting it already this morning. But it's got like 28,000 miles on it or something like that. Nothing too crazy. My experience before this bike is actually not that much. I would consider myself maybe a lower tier intermediate rider, if that makes any sense. So actually Carl, this is actually both of his bikes. So he's on a Yamaha MT-07, and then our buddy Drake, who we're meeting up with, is on a Yamaha FZ08, an older one. I think it's, I believe, a 2011. But for the longest time as a kid, I've always wanted to ride. I wanted to ride bikes, wanted to ride ATVs and motocross and stuff, but I just never done it. And it wasn't until about a little over a year ago I decided to get my first bike. And basically the only experience I had really was Carl, his Grom, and we would basically ride 15 to 20 minutes after work, and then for like 2 weeks after that I was like, you know, I think I'm ready for my first bike. But the only experience I had was just riding for 15 to 20 minutes after work for like 2 weeks. And you know, I'm older, I'm 26, I'm gonna be 27, and so I felt like, you know, I'm going to be respectful of the bikes. I'm going to be respectful of the power, what it can do to you, how fast things can go wrong. You know, as a car enthusiast, a heavy car enthusiast, I know what defensive driving looks like. I know what you have to look out for, cars like this that can come out, people not seeing you. I mean, it was all part of the things that I've already trained myself in a car, but also even mountain biking as well. And so I feel like, you know, I loved bikes my entire life, and so when I got my first bike, which was a Yamaha FZ09, big wheelie machine for your first bike, had exhaust. I'll throw some clips and photos of it up here. But it was a very nice bike, and very fast bike. But after about a month or so that bike actually has 3 different modes. It's got normal mode, B mode, and B mode's considered like in the rain, kind of reduces the power or how much throttle response you get. And then A mode is just kind of like bonkers, you know, less restriction, more responsive throttle, and probably other things that I'm not mentioning. But I never put in A mode just because I know I'm an intermediate rider, lower tier intermediate rider, and I just didn't want to start doing absolutely crazy things. You got to respect the bike. You got to respect your experience and respect your intentions of how you're learning on a bike. So I took it very seriously, and I took it very slow. And even then, still today, you know, even hopping on this bike, it's kind of more of a super sport style, more like sport touring rather. It's not as much as a lean like an R6 or an R1 or anything like that. And I'm so happy that Carl allows me to ride it with him as we go on these little trips and stuff, because I actually sold my bike for other reasons. And so I told him, we need to get freaking some GoPros and start recording some content and do some cool things. So you know, this is what we're doing. This is what we're up to. One of the things that I actually wanted to talk about quickly, and for any new riders, again, I fall into this category, so this is just my opinion, my look at it, my insights, just what I've learned. So I gave you context in my background, right? I used to ride mountain bikes all the time for a few years, and I'm a heavy car enthusiast, so all the intentionalities of how to handle a car, how to shift a car, how to drive a manual, I've already know how to do. So I knew if I focused on just a motorcycle and trusted it and learned it the right way, the proper way, but slow, I would be totally fine. But one of the biggest things that I realized that transferred over that I was kind of surprised about is how much bike mechanics, normal bicycles and mountain bike riding transfers over to an actual real bike. Like, it's a lot. And when you're sitting there trying to lean, or you're doing things, or you're leaning left, or you're learning right, and you're counter steering the bike, you do that naturally on a mountain bike. And you're picking your line, you're picking where to go. You do all of those things naturally when you're on a normal bicycle. And so when hopping on this, it was just like kind of normal. Like, people overthink it. You see people like turn out awkward, but I really do believe if you have any type of normal biking experience, bicycles, whether it's like road bike, mountain biking, or just BMXing in general, you would probably be a good rider, and you probably shouldn't be afraid as much as you think you should, because it's not as difficult as people make it out to be. But the biggest thing you have to focus on is respecting the bike and respecting your skills and your talent. It's the moment when you don't respect what you have anymore where bad things happen, where you start to push the limits and that you feel comfortable with. That's where bad things happen. So, but other than that, like, my experience so far has been really good. Like I said, I've been riding for a little over a year, and I think probably a year and a half now we're coming up on. And the only bikes I've ridden so far was obviously a Honda Grom, a FZ09, which was my first bike, Carl's Yamaha MT-07, this Honda VFR800, and then our buddy Drake's bike, who we're going to pick up, his 2011 Yamaha FZ08. So those are really the only main bikes that I've ridden. But I mean, I love these bikes, man. Just to experience something like this with this type of speed and freeness that these bikes give you, I understand why people love these things. And the bike community, for the most part, I would say, is pretty welcoming. And you see other riders, especially street riders, like, you know, nicer bikes. People have a good time, and people respect you. And then if you have any type of issues on the side of the road, like, people are more than willing to come help you out with that type of stuff. You have to be focused on the road ahead of you. You have to be focused on what you're doing and how you're doing it. And because you don't have room for error. You don't have room to get distracted or anything like that. So you just kind of, look at that, miss second. You just have to be in the moment and just analyze everything that you see. Because that's what you have to do if you want to stay safe. And obviously there's so many other things that are out of your control, but I got a feeling Carl here is gonna call. Bike is so fun, man. It's just unreal how fun this bike is, and or really any freaking bike for that matter. I mean, they're just incredible machines. Baby. Man, I love riding, guys. It's such a beautiful day. I can't wait to go meet Drake. I actually don't even know where we're gonna go, but probably we're just gonna cruise around and just enjoy the weather, enjoy each other's company. And I actually forgot my AirPods today. Unfortunately, I was so focused on getting the GoPro and things of that nature that I totally forgot to bring my AirPods in. So I'm feeling all the noise and wind today in my ears with no music. Also, another tip for new riders: don't, like, there's so many YouTubers that I watch, and a lot of these guys are really well experienced. So I mean, there's nothing bad to say about that. But I mean, I personally, I can't tell if it's a cop or not. I don't think it is. No, it's from Florida. But whenever you're riding, like, you only get one shot at life. You only get one wrong move, one wrong choice. Any car can come over. There can be tire tread in the road you don't see, a new pothole. I mean, like, literally the options are endless. And if you don't have the proper gear, like, it's just not cool, man. Like, in my opinion, like, you know, I'm never gonna judge the riders in the sense that, like, call them names or anything like that, but man, just wear some gear, man. Just be protected, and feel okay with what you got, because man, you don't get one shot in this life to do anything. So usually there's cops back there. I don't see any, so we can probably speed up here a little bit, check up the car. But sometimes there's the cops that sit up here at the very bottom and you don't even know about it. They'll sneak up on you. Oh yeah, you better watch out there, lady. You better watch yourself. Also here in the state of Tennessee, if you guys don't know, we don't have, I think California obviously, so probably most of you actually know this, but in the state of Tennessee, lane splitting and all that stuff is illegal here. So can't really, I mean, you can do it, you know, if you're getting through traffic or whatever, but the thing is, in a state like this that really respects law enforcement and stuff, which is good, like, if there's a cop pulled over on the side of the road, I mean, everyone slows down to like 30 miles an hour, like, no joke. Whereas, like in Chicago, for example, I mean, people keep going the speed limits. So when it comes to police here, people take them pretty seriously. But the other thing is, people here, there's a pretty decent bike community, but it's not as big like a California or Chicago or anything like that. So people aren't used to here having riders lane split. They're not keeping in mind, oh wait, there might be someone that sneaks up in the middle here, let me leave some room type of thing. That doesn't happen. Not here. And if anything, people might even try to get in your way with their cars, or block you. I've had that instance happen once or twice, where it wasn't like they were trying to hit me, but they saw that I was getting through traffic because it was like completely backed up, like for probably 45 minutes, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna sit here and wait this whole time. And I could see cars like slowly move inwards to not allow me to pass them. So it happens, but I mean, usually if I'm on a bike, I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm not going any place really. So what you got going on over here, man?
So, battery's dead. Probably because I haven't started it in a while. Yeah. And I went to get the fucking screw out and it won't come out.
The screw won't come out?
Yeah, for the seat, so I can jump the battery off.
You have a screw in your seat?
Try pulling on it and unscrewing it at the same time?
No, like it was like, wasn't even, as soon as I went with a hand tool, it was like, I couldn't even fucking turn it. So I was like, I'm just gonna do that.
Oh.
Oh, dude, I got that banana pudding shake. Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Ready, Freddy's? I need to back out my pony.
No. 165 was at 170 or 167.
Nice. Hell yeah.
You know, for me, I knew if I started on, let's say like a Ninja 300 or 250 or a 400 of some sort, I knew probably in the next few months that I would want something faster. I mean, that's everybody's post that has those things, from, you know, have them for 2 months, ready to sell, ready to upgrade, ready to move on. And I didn't want to be in that boat. I didn't want to spend $4 grand on a motorcycle only to, in a year's time, or probably less, want to get something faster. So I bought something that was completely above my skill level, to learn it, to respect it, and to get good at it. And even then, like as far as like stopping really fast, or maybe some cornering or tight turns, like I'm still getting used to it. But this bike here is kind of a super sport. It's more of a sport touring. You're not as aggressively leaned forward like an R6 or an R1. But these bikes in front of me are considered naked bikes or sport bikes. These are kind of like a sport touring, you know, super sport style. But, you know, it's an amazing time to ride motorcycles and to respect your bike. And I mean, it's just an absolute blast. I really do recommend it to a lot of people. I'm not one of those crazy YouTubers who just start flying, popping wheelies. That's just not my type of riding style. And because I've learned, even from a car perspective, there's a time and place for everything. You know, if you wanted to do something like that, in my opinion, I'm going to take it to the track. But of course, we have some fun. We take some turns and we do what we have to do. But I mean, as far as that crazy riding stuff, I don't really do that. I don't see a reason to on the street. Just too many things can happen, and you know, I'd rather be safe than sorry. Just my perspective, at least. So I think we're trying to figure out where we're going here. Taking the left. Alrighty. Yeah, baby. One thing you'll see me do that I've learned is any gear out of second, so third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, if I'm going fast enough and if I'm really hauling ass, I'll basically don't use the clutch lever. This doesn't have a speed shifter, but I'll just tap in, you know, the other gear, then, you know, higher RPMs, I basically just put my left foot up there, let go of the throttle, and then it goes right in just like this. No hiccups, no nothing. Fits right in. That's what she said. It's gonna be a good time. This bike is really interesting. This is my first, I guess you can consider, super sport bike that I'm riding. Because you are a little bit leaned over, but again, it's not as strong as the R1 or an R6 or anything like that. But did have to get used to the wrist. I try to keep my arms very light. You know, you keep your arms light and limbo. A lot of people would ride all wide, they like, and you know, you're keeping, just like a car, when you're driving a race car or anything like that, you're keeping your hands very minimally. You're putting a little less pressure on the handlebars, and you're really gripping it with your legs and your feet. Because what I would used to do, I would grip this fucking thing as hard as possible, and white knuckle everything, and then that really starts, you know, wearing out your arms. You get tired, and you can get tired pretty much before the, you know, before you even get going. My bike always wants to lean to the right, or to the left. I don't know if it's because of my weight distribution, how I'm sitting, or what. Or if the bike's heavier. I used to do it on my FZ as well. Like it just starts turning, going the wrong way. So. Oh man, are we gonna pass this person? I'm down. There's cars up there though. Yeah, this bike, this Honda VFR800 has like 20,000 miles, yeah, 19,000 miles, almost 20K, and it has VTEC, so like anywhere after 7,000 or 8,000 RPMs when you're full throttle, this thing literally just like activates and turns into a different like machine. The engine sounds, the power, the whole bike just completely changes, and it's actually quite wild and pretty cool. Man, I love it out here in Tennessee. I'm originally from Chicago, so I moved here to Nashville in 2017, and so to have roads like this at your disposal, where you can literally, that's a cop too, where you can literally just go to your, right behind your house, find these roads and stuff, it actually really is amazing. It's awesome, because in Chicago, you would have to ride like an hour to 2 hours away, maybe to a state park or something, to find any sort of curvy roads or anything like that, like especially where I was from, which was like 45 minutes south of Chicago. You just didn't have these roads accessible to you whatsoever. And so a lot of the riding that I hope to be doing is on back roads like this, and just talking with you guys and building an awesome community, because I really love motorcycles. It's so freeing just to hop on here and just to let some stress go. I mean, I really do understand. You might see those cringy videos on Instagram or TikTok, but it really is a stress reliever, and it's quite fun. It really is, because on a motorcycle, you don't have time to think about anything else. You just don't have time to think about anything else, because you're just sitting here worrying about the road. This is a beautiful freaking road right here too. I don't know this road actually too. That's another thing with like, as long as I lived here, like I lived in different areas in Nashville, like Franklin or Brentwood and stuff like that. So a lot of the roads look the same, but I do not have any of those roads memorized by any means or anything like that. So. And we're all pretty intermediate riders. I mean, Carl has background on motorcycle, or not motorcycle, obviously motorcycles, but obviously some dirt biking. I think Drake does a little bit. But when it comes to like actually operating a motorcycle or an ATV or dirt bike, I'm the least experienced person out of that. I just have a lot of experience on a mountain bike, and that's really it. But everything I do, I try to learn and do it the right way. Respect the bike, respect the road, respect other drivers, and just to have a good time. That's all you can really do and ask of yourself. Just have a good time doing what you enjoy. This car kind of needs to move out the way. It's also another thing about motorcycles, being a heavy car enthusiast and love racing on simulators and stuff, you start to know how to take corners. You can't just take a corner normally like in a car. So you kind of have to look ahead, and you're always looking ahead, just like in a car. And you're looking at the trees, so where that wet car is, I can see the road starting to curve left pretty heavily, right? So if it starts curving heavy a little bit left, I'm going to swing a little bit wider, just like these guys are, and then kind of hit the apex, and it'll throttle out, kind of go back to wide a little bit. But you start to understand that with the speed you're going, and throttle inputs, and it justifies to where you kind of end up. But you always want to look where you want to go. You're not looking where you are, but you look where you want to go, and that's where the bike's going to go, just like anything else that you've heard people talk about. It's true. Turn left right there. No. I know that road back there a little bit. We don't have comms, unfortunately, so we definitely need to get some cord over the Senna or whatever, so we can actually talk to each other, because I hope to make content not just myself, but even with the guys. And I don't even have my own bike, so the only thing about this throttle is not as responsive as I was like. You really got to blip it to get a good downshift in. Unlike my FZ09, which was a little more reactive, more responsive for sure. This you've really got to turn it to get it up there. But otherwise, again, coming from a newbie experience, it feels really good, rides really well. I think it's got 105, 110 horsepower. And I think it clocks out at like 151 or 155 with the governor still on. So it's a pretty fun and stout bike for what it is. No kidding. Oh, that's the guy from the gas station. Saw him earlier. I really wanted to take a left back. Woo! Crazy Carl, man. That dude just fucking sends it. Baby! Oh, the bugs are getting on my screen already. I mean, it's so fucking beautiful out here, man. Like, just look everywhere. It's so nice. Oh, man. Oh, it's a bonfire smell. Oh, it's the smell of fall, man. Oh, man, it smells so nice. So beautiful, baby. Woo! One thing I gotta learn more about a little bit too is how to use more of the rear brake. You know, usually if I'm stopping pretty heavily, I definitely use both brakes, but when I'm coming to like a street light or something like that, I need to use more of the rear brake. I hear a lot of people talking about it, and honestly, like I said, my experience, I just haven't learned more about it, of why and how to like balance the bike. I'm sure it has to do with those things, and so that's always going to be the focus, but I've been using the rear brake a lot more just to feel comfortable, you know, because just like anything else, like on a normal bicycle, you get so used to just using the front brake, and the front bite's a lot harder than the rear, of course, but you only want to use the front brake. You know, I think it's like someone said like 60-40, 70-30, 70% front brake, you know, 30% the rear brake, so. There we go, it's better downshifts.
What the fuck?
This guy?
What the fuck? Oh.
He's fucking crazy.
Oh, what the fuck,
Dude, I looked over and I was like, dude. Lifted here pretty heavily. I have popped a wheelie only once on my FZ09. To give you a quick story how that happened. So my buddy has a Corvette C8, one of the newer ones, and I had just bought this bike, the FZ09, and we were on the interstate, and we're like, let's do a race, and I'm like, all right. So whenever I was learning the bike, I would always have it in the gear above, which would be like the right gear to do a race, right? Just because I was getting comfortable. And I knew that bike could easily pop wheelies in pretty much all the gears, you know, and so we did like a 60 pull, and I dropped it in the second, which was a high in second. Just whooped the throttle and the front end lifted up, and I was just like, oh my god. Like, I was never really a wheelie person anyways on a normal bike. Like, I could wheelie, but I never was that one guy like in the neighborhood who would just, you know, go nuts with those type of things. And so when that fucking wheel just popped up, I eased off the throttle, kept my body weight, and then just dropped it back down. I'm like, nope, not for me, man. Not yet, at least. Like, still getting used to the bike. Not gonna overcommit, because that's what happens when you overcommit. You pay the repercussions. But you do gotta commit to whatever you're doing. If you're riding, you gotta commit. The moment you freak out with the car, riding, bad things happen. You gotta keep composure at all times. Keep composure. Expect. Anticipate. Be prepared. Get ready. Have your fingers ready. All that type of, all that stuff helps. Plays a role in your safety on the road.